Hey guys, so this is a updated version of my melee build. Now, uh, I've been changing a lot of stuff. I started rerunning everything and trying to see if I could build my berserker damage any quicker. And the reason why is because I got out DPS'd by one of my friends who is also a 271 Rage. They do have a little bit lower skill points, but they are basically on par as far as damage goes with me on most everything. So, I knew that going by his damage to my damage, something wasn't working out correctly, and it was because he was constantly using his berserker damage. So he gave me this loadout here. He did not want me to say his name, so I'm not going to. And so we have this here, Relentless Anger. We have it in our first slot because it basically clips with Severe Punishment. Now, I did try running Violence in there, a bunch of these other ones that give damage over time, Galling Eruption, all those that give over time damage, and Severe Punishment was basically one of the only things that will clip with Relentless Anger and actually cause good damage. So then you have your Outrage and your Lacerate. Now these two, I'm thinking that they're going to probably be your best two Rage powers out of all the powers of Rage. Other than your supercharges. These here are going to be your main damage powers on any loadout because I've ran them so many times, and it's just those two do the most damage. And of course, whenever you're spinning and you have berserker damage going, that's a lot of double hits every time you spin. So our hits, it's 2 hits, but 1 hit is going to be a little smaller than your first hit, because that's what this does here, causing a portion of your damage to be dealt again. Okay, Outrage hits a lot, so them two are definitely going to be staying on your melee loadout. Now, them two there, I'm thinking that they pretty much have to be there for this loadout to actually fully work correctly, because like I said, you want berserker damage to get up as quick as you can. So now whenever I started running this, I was actually dealing much more damage, and I noticed that whenever I was running it on sparring targets, I was not dealing as much damage in 10-second intervals compared to the 10-second intervals I was running out in the open with berserker going. And I'm not really too sure why. I think it was because of the way I was doing everything. I was trying to get my highest numbers on sparring targets, and it wasn't really working out right. So I went through, reran everything I come up with, all of it in a raid, and done everything with the numbers, and this is the best that I can come up with. So here we go. Relentless Anger, Severe Punishment, Outrage, Lacerate, Robot Sidekick, and Berserker damage. Now whenever you use Berserk damage, you don't want to just keep using these two. The whole time Berserk damage is going on, you want to try to run your Outrage and your Lacerate. Outrage and Lacerate. Constantly. You don't have to worry too much about the plasma burn power interaction if you're using, let's say, the Grimorium, but we're not using the Grimorium here, so we're trying to do everything we can to gain supercharge. So we got our Eye of Gemini in here, which also deals good damage to on its own. I've noticed that when you use it, people run away from you. They know what it is. They don't want to give you that extra damage. But let's say there's 2 or 3 rages, in a raid, or even 2 rages in a rage. Everything that rage does up close melee, you're going to benefit from everything, as they're going to benefit from yours. But the point of it is you're going to be getting more out of this than you are with the extra burn and being able to add a extra power in your loadout because you won't need the burn. So it's best to have, you know, your Relentless Anger. It's going to give the plasma burn anyway, and it's going to build your supercharge. So this is the loadout that I prefer. Now everything else is basically the same. 1 point in your weapon. Now on here I do go all the way down. I get these. They actually help. They keep your power up pretty good. You know, your resistances, I can't really tell if they're doing much of anything, but you know, it's good to have that 10% extra. It must be helping in some form or another. So I go straight down here, and this is with flight. I think it is a little different with other powers, so I'm gonna let you kind of see what these are. They all have about the same, just different areas. Alright, iconic powers, you want your robot sidekick. You want to go super powered. Always want these two right here for your damage. Try to get them two first before you even go to throwing might and power in. You want these two. Then you want all the might and power you can possibly get. If you have any left over, throw them into your health. Just for to say, we're going to go and we're going to hit some sparring targets, let you guys see the numbers on this, and then, you know, like I said, this loadout is going to shine in raids and in, you know, in actual content. It's going to shine much more than it is here. Now we're going to run this with berserker damage, and then once without. Okay, now I know that this is not how it's going to be in a middle of a fight, because you'll probably have number 1 and number 2 down before you use Berserk, but we're going to start out with Berserk here anyway. Now you notice how I'm not just constantly using Relentless Anger. I only use the Relentless Anger whenever number 2 is off cooldown. And the reason why is so you can keep putting damage out with these and using this here to reenact your supercharge back and to get your, you know, your plasma burn going, because your plasma burn will last until number 2 is off cooldown. Alright, we ran out of power. But you can see, you know, it basically stays above 350 damage. 350k damage. It stays basically above it every time. I mean, there's a couple times, you know, 326. There, you know, it could have been anything. I might have done something wrong. You know, it's very easy to get something wrong with Rage, but this is the damage loadout that I actually really prefer. So now we're going to try it without Berserk. And as you can see, you know, I just now used Berserk. I barely even done anything, and I've already got a full supercharge bar up top. So, you know, like I said, you can almost reuse Berserker over and over and over. So, you know, it's best to, you see a good group of enemies like this, 8 enemies, you bust your 1 and 2, then you hit Berserk, then you go into 3 and 4, 3 and 4, and you do that until Berserk is off. Usually by the time your number 2 is reset, then Berserk will be, you know, completely done. So you can redo your plasma burn and your aura, then you can continue on from there. Or, you know, like I was saying, you wanted to use Berserk back to back, that'd be a good time to do it. It would be 1, 2, Berserk, 3, 4, 3, 4. And by that time, number 2's off. So you can 1, 2, Berserk, 3, 4, 3, 4. And that's how I've been using it, and I've been just destroying the scoreboard with this loadout. So this here definitely for Rage Melee, and that's all I wanted to do, was just a little recap update for the melee side of things. So hit you back on the next one, and there will be a ranged range loadout here pretty quick, so keep an eye open for that.